Alright, hell yeah. So, I made my video, but this is actually my thoughts on it, and this is what I think's happening with the chain fountain. I do think it's a rocket problem. It's a mass and velocity problem. The fact that you do have a force, you know what I mean, when these chains get pulled up, and you have a residual force on the bottom, 0.3 newtons, I think that's... so here's debunking that. That force, I'm just going to assume it's so small it has really nothing to do with the upward, you know what I mean, loop-de-loop of the chain fountain. And how can I prove that just real fast? Is because the mold effect or whatever, it affects any rope. So let's say you just have a pile of just normal rope and you pull on it. What happens is that this rope will have a constant velocity, pretty much to about right here, or like right here. You have a velocity gradient. All the rope above this point is just constant. You know what I mean? Hella velocity. But this point right here is velocity 0. So you're going to have a velocity gradient, and there's no way. So this is why the mold effect works with chains. It's because this ball gets to impact its energy into the next ball. And the force gets pushed this way. Mass times velocity. You know what I mean? Zero velocity, tiny mass, huge velocity with the whole chain. And you're taking this and you're just really, it's almost like a train collision, but you're yanking it forward, and it's actually imparting its energy into the system. So now this system just has a little packet of energy. That's exactly how a rocket works. You know what I mean? You have a huge tank of fuel, and then just teeny little bits of fuel get burned hella, go from 0 velocity to velocity hella, infinite, you know what I mean, whatever, huge velocity. Is that large? And it imparts booyah, and it pushes against, it pushes just a little bit into the system. It pushes up. So that's where, and I don't know, you know what I mean, this is why I want a slow speed camera, because I don't think, you know what I mean, it's cool that you do have this idea that when this gets pulled up, yes, you do have, I do agree, and you can watch my video forward, because I try to wrap my head around, you know what I mean, the effect of these little dumbbell shapes, baton shapes, center of mass. Yes, if you yank up on this one, yes, the other one wants to go down. But you've seen that if you don't have a surface here, I would agree, the mold effect still works, even though Steve Mould says it's reduced. And the mold effect is just this. Well, I think there's two things going on here. One is you have this velocity gradient, and the only way you're going to do that is this rope is going to do like an S. So this rope is always going to like do a little S right here. And you can just pull up on a piece of rope and it wobbles. And it's not so ideal. Like this is where the velocity neutralizes. And then this is where the velocity is trying to change. Velocity is still 0 here, velocity is still there. So you do kind of have like a log scale through here. But you have all these little bits of mass. Like the rope itself is little bits of mass, and like every little bit has to change its velocity, and it's getting imparted into the next one. So like we said, if you just have this, if this whole thing is going at a constant velocity and then gets to just rip out one of those little balls on the chain link, this ball is just going to go flying. This ball, in the next half a second, it's going to be like, whoa, up here. And that is exactly why Medi's just like, well, there was no force to kick off, and my vacuum hose still did this. So that's why. because you have a huge mass of the whole vacuum hose and a constant velocity, and you're taking just the last little bit of it, small m, taking it from zero velocity up to this constant. And what happens is the final velocity of this last ball definitely wants to be greater than this velocity. Just because life, it's heavy, but it's only going to get up to a constant velocity. You know what I mean? You're going to have atmospheric pressure. I mean, just the fact that, yeah, so anyway, or just different things. So let's get back to why the baton could help, but I don't think it's the driving cause. So let's just do a baton right here. Oh, shoot. All right, more time on the clock. Yeah, anytime I can draw a baton, I'm going to, because we're going to pull this up. But like I said, this next link is the most important. This link, full velocity. This link is zero. Once this link gets impacted, it's going to, and some of these chains, they're perfect. This is why, the chain fountain really works, is because these balls are able to slide through this rod. This rod is only this long, and then so these balls can actually hit each other like this. And because there's a hole right here and a hole right there. And so what happens is so that's the thing, is if you have, this wouldn't work too good with just like little bearings. If you had bearings and then rods, well, Mehdi showed that he had rocks and rods, and it worked all right too. So yes, why does the rocks and rods work? Because, I mean, obviously, if you can take this extra energy, this extra high velocity, and just ram it in there, if you can identify, with the slow-mo guys, if you can show a collision of this ball into this ball, you've just imparted energy into the system. But why, when Mehdi throws just rocks or little beads attached to just really lightweight string, why does that produce the same effect? And, holy Toledo, I'm going to pause right here. All right, hell yeah, I have my answer. So this little bead has zero velocity. But the instant it gets tugged, because this has hella, this is your constant velocity and a huge mass. Huge mass, decent velocity. The second this thing gets impacted, what happens? It gets launched. This rope goes slack. So for the time that rope is slack, guess what happens to this part of the system? It gets to speed up. Okay, hell yeah, because I thought I was going to put myself into a trap, but I didn't. You got gravity here, you know what I mean? Gravity is your driving force. You just throw a link of chain just off the deck, it's going to increase. Velocity is going to increase hella until it hits the ground. So the fact that, you know what I mean, you throw this chain off, and let's say it's a long chain, and the second this ball hits the ground, this whole thing is just now the same velocity. Once this ball hits the ground, this whole piece of chain is the same velocity. So that's what we're looking at here. And, damn it, I gotta pause the video. Holy Toledo. So even just a chain falling, and I don't have the science behind this, but it will go faster. It'll go faster than just one ball. If you throw one ball, this chain will go faster. And I think it's because of this. Like I said, you threw this chain off, like segmented. So like it's on the deck and then it slowly rolls off. Well, there's a point in here where this link up here has zero velocity. You know what I mean? That velocity is zero, and this is actually up to max. So this is max velocity. And the second this hits the ground, like over here, theoretically, this chain up here could be already at a max velocity because it's a linear system. So I mean, that idea of once the chain stretches out, that it'll actually unit. So yeah, so then, but let's say this velocity up here is already at this max that hit the ground because it's a chain. Well, guess what? Once this hits the ground, this thing is still increasing in speed. You know what I mean? So you can actually get a chain, even just a free-falling chain, will constantly, because I think you get groups up. Like this mass will group up and then fall as a unit. And then the fact that if this mass grouped up, that means something went slack, and that allows these other masses to group up. And it's kind of like they're mini reactions. It's just like a mini train, like train cars. The ball chain fountain is such a train car, you know what I mean? Just like impacts, and it's and it all happens from zero velocity right here, impacting this. All right, we're gonna pause it one more time. All right, hell yeah. So gravity is always trying to pull these chains faster. So your velocity is always increasing. You know what I mean? Technically. And then it hits the ground, so then we can identify that there's like an equilibrium. You know what I mean? That has to be matched because there's no more Earth to accelerate into. But you have induced a system where you're changing this velocity, and the second this goes slack, because this is medi, with those little beads and is just really loose string. The second this goes slack, this whole system can start to increase in velocity again, because it's no longer tugging on a piece of mass, and then so it can kind of increase the velocity. And you might be like, well, this works with the drill, because that was what I was saying. You have a drill over here that's pulling this. But what I would say with that, holy Toledo, I gotta pause it again to get my words right. Oh, hell yeah. All right, I got it. A drill imparts a constant velocity, which this has to have some sort of velocity gradient. This velocity is zero, and then right here, because of the drill, you're imparting a constant velocity. And that's where, even when this ball chain fountain hits the ground, you have a Vmax. You have a constant velocity of the maximum speed this last ball is going to hit the Earth right there. So you have a Vmax in the system. Now, yes, you will have a gradient, and so this is where the chain effects show up. Because if you had, all right, gotta get my words right. No, we can just do this. If you have like a loop that goes out like that, all this means is that this little piece was greater than Vmax. And until if it's going from here to there, that means that this piece right here had a higher velocity. And where does velocity come from? It's still a mass times velocity problem. You have a velocity max, and even if it's all these links, so you have a Vmax times all the mass of all these links yanking on a tiny mass, and you're gonna impart a greater velocity than Vmax. And then what that's going to do is going to cause either a force up into the next link with the ball chains that work really well, or in the case of just a pile of rope. If you pull up on a pile of rope, you will get this, and because this is your velocity gradient, this is your Vmax, this is your velocity zero, and this is these to the sides are those. So you're either gonna get imparted energy up or sideways. Because if you pull a rope, it might never go up. You know what I mean? And then do that. But it will go hella sideways. And I'm sure if you pull this fast enough, this is where, even going back to the rope effect, you know what I mean? Because the mold effect works for a rope, because the second you're pulling up on this and it's doing something like this, well, there's a chance that this, you know what I mean, just due to the physics. That was the other thing that I do. I'm glad Steve Mould, you know, also said, hey, these links have a tight bend radius. Because, you know, I mean, if the system has nowhere to go, even a rope might not have anywhere to go, and then it might double back on itself like that. As you're pulling up so much speed. This looks like a loose pile, but no. We're going from pulling straight up and doing like one snake to actually having this thing have such a velocity gradient that it looks like a I guess I just want to do it down and then back into the pile where you have a loop. The second you got a loop like in this kind of downward direction, hell yeah, you know what I mean. You can and then this loops in an upward direction. So I do think, just based on irregularities of even pulling a rope up, you might be able to. Why can I not draw this? But anyway, have a loop like this, like that. That would be the mold effect in just pulling up a loose pile of rope. I bet you if you pulled up a rope fast enough, this thing, because you're gonna get a lot of this pattern, and this pattern just turns sideways. You know what I mean? It is this pattern. So there's no reason you can't get that. It's just so there you go, and then that technically would be the mold effect. All right, so yeah, there is these ball chains though are the best for the practical purpose that. So a rope is just going to do this out to the side. All right, now why does the ball chain fountain? Why does the mold effect work so good? And I think is because when you have, even if it's just a little noodle, because people were doing these with noodles, if you have another noodle on a string, and this noodle's already at Vmax, this noodle's at V0, and the second the string gets taut, this velocity is greater than Vmax. I don't know how to do a greater than sign. It's greater than Vmax. You know what I mean? It's Vmax plus. And so it's going to impact, pop, it's going to impact this little noodle. And the second it does, then now you just have collisions. You got velocity, this velocity and has a mass, and it's imparting just a tiny bit of energy. But this force, this extra force into this noodle, is definitely going to be hella, I think it's going to be hella more than the fact that this noodle. Well, let's do the mold effect, because I don't mind going back to it and then researching it more. But just the fact that these noodles are being pulled up like that, and the second that this noodle... So yeah, let's say this noodle's at Vmax. This section of the noodle right here is velocity 0. And then instantaneously, this section goes to Vmax. And its center of mass is right there. So you have a hell of velocity right there. This velocity has to be 0 because it's resting against the container. That was the whole deal with the mold effect. And so what that's going to do, damn it. I'm okay. I'm okay with understanding it from a mass velocity problem. It's a rocket problem. But yeah, now I will throw in the towel and be like, yep, if this can't have anywhere to go, how? My question is just how much. It's like how does a bicycle stay, like, you know what I mean? Does a bicycle need trail? No, hell no. You know what I mean? That's been so debunked. You can make the dumbest bicycles and still ride them. You know what I mean? So if you're still trying to ride a bicycle and balance on it, like balance is the key. Balance. You know what I mean? So is this? So when we look at the mold effect, and we call that the mold effect, you know what I mean? Is that the mold effect? Is that balanced? You know what I mean? When we're talking about a bike, it's not like the trail. Yeah, you put trail on a bike, you can get some cool cool effects like that, and maybe you call that the mold effect. But I just do not think that this is the driving force. So I'm still going to say no to the mold effect because it helps my brain. Because I will think about this concept more if I disagree with it. You know what I mean? Life needs to be more about that. And, yeah. So, but I get it. Yeah, this section is going to have Vmax, and if this has nowhere to go, but like I said, just like the trail of a bike, you know, can you balance on any friggin' bike? Pretty much, because even whether it was Steve Mould or Medi, they set up the scenario. One where you did have a backing for the loop to get pulled, and another where you took the backing away. And yes, you took the backing away, you would have this drift, you know what I mean? This thing would drift down that way. But that drift is the force that's causing it to drift. That force is so tiny, that's not the driving force going up. The driving force is the drill causing constant Vmax. The driving force is gravity causing, you know, the chains to go as fast as possible, hit the ground, and create a Vmax. So this is a Vmax problem, and it's a mass problem. It's a velocity mass. It's a rocket-based problem. And the second the chain hits the ground, because that can also prove other things. Because that can prove that once this link exits the system, sayonara, it actually helps. Damn it, I don't know if I can go that far. But I think my understanding of it, you know what I mean, as a Vmax problem, as a rocket problem, the second that this ball hits the ground, because we all know that the second the chain fountain hits the ground, the mold effect goes crazy. You know what I mean? It actually begins. It begins its thing. You know what I mean? And then the mold effect's real high. And the reason is because now you have molecular collisions. Every little mass, and that's the reason, because you have free fall. You have you know what I mean? You have free fall on most of these links, even though you do have a discrepancy in the links. But the second this hits, booyah! Now the links are able to oscillate back and forth. You have constant train, just like a train is kind of, let's say the train was, I don't know. Like even as a train goes down a track, it constantly does this. Every car bumps back and forth into the other car. So you're establishing that Vmax, and you're causing constant collisions and interactions. And again, the chain fountain works best because, yeah, you have these two little balls, they got two little holes, and they have a rod that can go all the way through. You know what I mean? So the two balls can be really close with the two holes, and the rod can be over here, or they can be hella far away, two holes, and the rod's just like that. And they can collide together just like pool balls. And the second that this hits the ground, all these, so yeah, it's still a collision problem. And I think the fact that it doesn't work that great when you just pull a rope straight up, like you're never going to get the mold effect this way. But if you do this with a chain, my friend does this with a chain, and he just has a chain on he does this. He has a chain on a wheel connected to his garage, and then he's got just a chain. And he can hit this with a bat, and then he can induce any shape he wants. And this is the mold effect. So the fact that he can induce a shape is because you have Vmax. You had this chain in the initial condition going at Vmax. And the second you hit this chain into a different configuration, I would imagine if you hit it in like this, well, you effectively shorten the chain, and I don't know, but yeah, you can sustain these mold effects because of the collisions, and it's but anyway, I think I was close with that, and I just it's always so hard to come up with the words just 100%. But we're going to be finishing up, yeah. But these were all extra, you know what I mean? You know that's extra. This is extra. When the chain fountain hits the ground, yeah, then things take off. You know what I mean? If you're not talking about that, and my explanation helps because it's a train. It's a train cars, just constant collisions, and you're imparting energy. And again, ball chain fountain, you can impart energy downward. This ball can hit this one to go faster that way. Cool. Vmax increases, and then once this ball hits this one, well, guess what? This ball can now go hella fast because this one slowed down, and then guess what? It's going to jerk this one back up to speed and stuff like that. So, yep, you just have tons of tiny little bits like this, but they do add energy into the system. I mean, it's more than the 0.3 newtons, more than that little Taco Bell taco or whatever. But yeah, anyway, now I'm just gonna. I guess I'm done because this is just. It's fun. Let's see. Do I have any more time? Damn it. All right, but holy Toledo! I didn't mean for this to be kind of the whole video. But all right. I did record this about an hour ago, and we do some. I take a look at the mold effect, and I give it my best shake. So keep watching for that. And but for this part, thanks for joining me. And guess what? That's a video. All right. So if you're just showing up for the end, this is what we did. Maybe I'll throw this at the beginning, but I think this whole thing is a rocket-based problem. It's a huge mass dragging velocity, and then impacting tiny little masses and trying to get them back up to that same velocity. It's a rocket problem, a log-based problem, mass velocity. Now, due to the kick, sure, you get some kind of interesting effects, but I don't know. I don't think it's the main player. So I'm still going to say no to the mold effect. All right, holy Toledo. All right, no to the mold effect, but that's just because I want to think about this a little bit more. So, all right, thanks for joining me, and guess what? That's a video. Alright, hell yeah. I didn't know Steve Mould and Medi already did their rebuttal 1 year ago. Holy Toledo, no one called me up. But okay, so I really do. I think I kind of have like the, like the sixth sense, like the little kid in that movie. You know what I mean? I kind of see what's going on. And so let's just get to it, man. Okay, so, because I'm so glad. You know what I mean? This got solved. I guess you do have, like, when this gets jerked up, this is what, so I guess I'll throw in the towel too, because I didn't like the fact that you would just name something after yourself when you're still trying to figure it out. But anyway, so if this thing gets yanked up, yes, you're definitely going to have a force downward. But now, does that help it jump up? You know what I mean? I don't know. So here's my, let's just do it real quick. Let's say you have an airplane. You know what I mean? Just a big old thing. And I guess it's got a nose, a little pilot. You're going to be jumping right out of the back hatch. You know what I mean? Whoop, whoop. And hell yeah. And but instead, you're tied with like a long piece of string to like the next guy. And guess what? One guy already jumped out, and this string is about to get tied. And let's say, I don't know, just as the picture, this is gonna suck. You know what I mean? This is like the dumbest thing you could do, because this guy's like, holy Toledo, this harness is just gonna tear me apart. So this guy gets torn apart, but then check it out. Let's say you have another guy. Whoa. Looks like that guy's having too much fun. Alright, so you have another guy. Well, it's going to suck way more for that guy now. He's like, I do not. This is like the third person in that human centipede. Like, hell no, I did not sign up for this. This person's just like, well, I didn't feel much of a change because I'm already just going hella fast. This guy's not going fast at all. And guess what? So, what my 2 cents on my last video was, I swear that once this guy gets jerked, the chain. Okay, so the rope gets tight, he gets jerked, but there's so much mass and velocity and just a little mass, little m, with zero velocity. So the second this individual gets like his back just totally broken, he's actually going to fly forward a little bit. So I want someone to capture this with the chain fountain. I want like the last chain to be kind of stuck to a surface, and it might be have to horizontal, but then when you have the entire chain found, because like all the chains have like a definite hella velocity, and even this last little ball might already be up to this same velocity. These are equal. But this last chain is still stationary. What I want is a high-def camera on this last little ball. You know what I mean? Just like the slow-mo guys. When this thing gets jerked, I want to see it input its force into this chain. Because that is the force that I'm most interested in. When this little m changes velocity, hell yeah. Now that's real force. And we're talking rockets here, baby. You know what I mean? You're like the exhaust is little masses. And these little masses have zero velocity in the tank. But the second they go through that Bernoulli cycle, Venturi's Chiro, I don't know what these rockets are called, but hell yeah, we're up to full V, baby. Full V. So I want to see a slow-mo of this. I ain't doing nothing from my parents' house, but that's what I want to see. Because, like, I am convinced, and now this is why I'm convinced, that there is a force, and maybe, I mean, the fact that I don't see it, you know what I mean? Because I was real impressed because Steve Mould did this. When the chain got pulled up right here, there was a force on the scale. He had a scale and it was horizontal and it read 0.3 newtons. You know what I mean? It's like a taco at Taco Bell. Do we know what a newton is? Newton is a quarter pound. So hell yeah, a little taco at Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Eighth of a pound. You know what I mean? No cheese, no lettuce, just meat in the shell. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, and you get it. Because if this is totally rigid rod, and you're yanking up on this is the center of mass right here. So if you're yanking up on this side definitely has to resist this force. So I know it took me about 5 minutes to get here. Holy Toledo, we got to put more time on the clock. Sorry to flip out on you, but holy Toledo. Because that's what I'm going to show up here. And it'll just make a whole lot of sense. Because now you're going to have a plane, I don't know. Like, pretend this plane just has 2 platforms, and they're full of people. And each of these people are connected with a steel rod. You know what I mean? And so this thing is just up, it's a hot air balloon. Just 2 big hot air balloons. And I don't know how they're connected with some steel rods too. But now you have another person, and they're connected to this guy too. Okay, so this is hella gonna make sense. Because now, and this person just jumped. So you can imagine this person just jumped. And what's gonna happen to this person? Well, instead of just going straight down and just jerking the other person, remember how we had that? You know what I mean? Just on a rope, this person gets up to hella speed, and this guy's back breaks. Well, this way, this guy pendulums, and there's no tension on this person right here. But the second this person pendulums this way, you know what I mean? Now we're just going to be like, whoa, well, once he gets down to here, you know, let's say he's just hanging on or something. Well, hell yeah. The velocity component in this direction is pretty decent. So that means that this guy's going to have some sort, yeah, there is a velocity component downward. So now this guy's definitely going to have to start having a velocity component downward too. And it's going to happen way before this guy gets to vertical. But anyway, so once this guy has a velocity downward, again, the center of mass, and maybe I can just see it, but this guy's actually going to get pushed into the plane. You know what I mean? So like, let's say he's got his head on something, and he's just resting his head and his feet are on something. His head's going to feel pressure as this guy swings. Now, it's because this rod is totally rigid and has a center of mass there. Because if this guy just swings, yes, you are changing the center of mass location, but instantaneously, if this side goes down, this side wants to go up. You know, it's just like having a baton. If you had a baton and then flicked it this way, you know what I mean, this side instantly wants to go down. So it's going to have to resist some force if you push that one this way. Same thing in the opposite direction. So this one, you're gonna fall down, and it's gonna spin this way. So yes, this skydiver is gonna have to resist some force. Now, like we had that, so Steve Mould measured that force, and that's cool. But I still don't think it's the driving mechanism. Or no, maybe I'm just not seeing it right. But that's all I wanted to do. I can't make claims right now. I just watched the video and wanted to make my video. But hell yeah. But I think you get it. When this guy falls, there is some force resisting until a moment where it's just like, nope. Now, you know, it's gonna pull him this way. Now, is that resisting force important? I guess it is. I guess it is for the mold effect, because if you have a chain like this with little barbells, I mean, they're little like, what are the ballerinas? I forget what they're called. Like the things that you twirl. I got to add more time on the clock. All right, so I think we did it, and maybe I need to make a better. I need to think about this one. That's for sure. But because what was the take-home point? Well, whoa. So you get rid of the barbells. You know what I mean? What, batons? Yeah, baton. This is totally a baton. You throw up this side goes down. Cool, got it. That's why if you have a pile of rope, or, you know, with baton rope, like the chain fountain, you pull up on one piece, the other piece pushes down. All right, we got that. But is that the driving force to make this loop? I still say hell the hell no. You know what I mean? We got to go back to phallic, you know, pictures. It's a rocket-based problem. It's a hell of a large mass with a hell of a lot of velocity, and then a little mass with a little velocity. You know what I mean? So when this chain's let's just say this chain's getting pulled into outer space, and you just have infinite chain here. Well, you have a hell of a huge rocket, and guess what? It's connected to the last little ball. That's you know what I mean? And it's totally upward. You know, totally upward force. There ain't no who cares. We're not doing the second to last ball, and then this one, you know, just has a huge downward force. But I guess now let's go back to it. So I just think there's. Like my side, yeah, it's such a debate. Yes, so you have the two last balls. I'll give you that. I'll give you the mold effect. You have a center of mass right there. This thing's going to go hella screaming, instantaneous velocity. Velocity is 0 right here. It's 0. And then it's just going to go sky high. That means the force here, damn it. I think, yeah, the more fast this goes, the more instantaneously this force has to resist, and because it has a glass to resist, then that's going to be equal. It's going to skip and then push this even higher. Damn it. I think it's just the fact that, like Steve Mould, he says right things, and I liked his other videos where he wants, intuitiveness. I just thought his intuitiveness was way off. Alright, holy Toledo, I ran out of juice or something. But yes, I totally am going to say no to the mold effect. Because I don't think it's the primary player. Yes, we said, yes, we know we have this force. And I don't know if we actually went to this picture. Like I was going to say, let's say this is the last ball and you got this, this chain of just infinite velocity, like a infinite velocity, infinite mass. But this has no velocity. This thing's going to get yanked upward, and it's going to go hella fast. And yes, if it's on a little dumbbell, the second this gets pushed up, the center of mass is here, this is going to have to hella resist this force. And if it does, then you'll actually get, you'll get a kick. I guess you'll get a kick. Like if this force resists, then that'll increase this. I guess so. But I would double down and say, let's say the two balls are just in the vertical, and then you have this huge rocket ship pulling. This is already up to speed, and there's no speed here. So this is going to accelerate, and I would just say if it's a rope, that's why I did this one. So you have this huge rocket on a rope to this last ball. The second this goes taut, this ball is actually going to go hella, because all the pieces in the chain have some sort of normal velocity, and they're just locked into the huge velocity, huge mass. But this, you just imparted all that energy to a tiny mass, and so this change in velocity could be greater, and you're just going to go flying. And if you have a dumbbell-like scenario, it's going to impart the velocity that this want to go is going to hit this little thing, normalize, but it's going to collide, I guess, and it's going to shock energy into the system, and then that little bit of energy is going to cause more velocity. So I would still say, this effect, this kick effect, I would still say hell no until you actually, the real player here is the rocket scenario. It's a log-based problem. Huge mass, any velocity. Doesn't matter what the velocity is, but it's yanking a tiny mass with no velocity. So this change in energy. This is why when you pull anything, even just like a rope out of a pile, when you pull it up, it's going to do curly cues until the velocity normalizes. So that's where do we have time for this? I think we're basically done. We got 45 seconds. But then, you know what I mean? You can consider all the chain to be constant velocity through here, but then right before it hits, you're constantly having impacts. Until this velocity is constant, this velocity is pretty close to that velocity. This velocity is 0. So all through here, you're having micro impacts that are taking this ball, shoving it into this ball, increasing the velocity. This ball increases the velocity of that ball until all the balls are going in. But yes, I would say it's a rocket-based problem. Alright, so if you're just showing up for the end, this is what we did. Maybe I'll throw this at the beginning. But I think this whole thing is a rocket-based problem. It's a huge mass dragging velocity and then impacting tiny little masses and trying to get them back up to that same velocity. It's a rocket problem, a log-based problem, mass velocity. Now, due to the kick, sure you get some kind of interesting effects, but I don't know. I don't think it's the main player. So I'm still going to say no to the MOULD effect. Alright, holy Toledo. Alright, no to the MOULD effect, but that's just because I want to think about this a little bit more. So, alright, thanks for joining me, and guess what? That's a video.